What's up, guys? In the last video we finished up the courtyard and the walls around the courtyard. Here's just a nice overview of what we did. We just hopped right into it here. I added some red around the grass. There was just way too much green down there and not enough darker colors. Anyways, I switched up to this quartz roof over here. Wanted to keep adding the darker colors there just because it evened out with the walls around the build right now. Went to the roof here, did pretty much the same thing. Anyways, I kept going with the darker theme here just to even out all the colors in the build. It was just way too much white going on and it didn't look right with the colors of the walls. I wanted to work over here with these archways. I felt like they could be a lot more complete before we worked on some other parts. Went over here, added some bridges. I felt like the walls could be more connected to the middle part here just to give it, I guess, more of a purpose. The outlining of the quartz on the middle roof area just was looking too strong, so I decided just to black all that out eventually. Went back to this bridge here. Wanted to add a lot more details here since this is so close to the part that was already kind of finished. I wanted to finish these up really quick. I went pretty damn heavy into the detail here. I spent a whole lot of time on this bridge. I just wanted it to look really nice, and I was getting a little better at shaping the blocks a little bit, so I wanted to really show off my skills down here. I did the middle area below the bridge as well. I lit all that up. I added all the detail down there. This was actually a pretty fun part of the build, I'm not gonna lie. I ended up thinking that it looked a little bit too thin near the bottom compared to how thick the top is, so eventually I ended up going back down there and fixing that up. I actually lost the next hour of recording. I just blacked out all the middle part. Again, the course just wasn't really doing it for me, so I replaced all that with the deep slate blocks, and I think that looks a million times better than having all the white down there. And the walls I built were so dark, so I definitely had to black out the rest of the build. I did the interiors of the bridge as well. Yeah, here's the part where I thickened the bottom of the supports just because the supports were looking so thin. It just didn't look right with how big the top of the bridge was. But I added a little second bridge, I guess you could say, below the main bridge. And then here's the part where I just did up the interior a little bit. I definitely added a bunch of lighting here. Just copy and pasted it over. Pretty easy, to be honest. The interiors don't take me too much time. It's just adding some details. I lit up the bottom of the bridge with the lava. I did up the middle connector area, and then I switched up and started doing some landscaping here. The grass was just looking way too bare, and there wasn't enough detail near the bottom of the, well, I guess you could say the ground, right? Anyways, I added this little support here. It was just looking boring, this area was anyways, and I wanted to just add something to make it look cool, and I think I did a really good job here. I didn't really use enough red in this part, but I was able to make it sort of blend in with what we had already built, and it ended up working out perfectly. I ended up adding these outcroppings. I would make this part look more like a column, like a support, I guess you could say. I added a bunch of fences there. I thought that looked really cool and like gothic. I was going for a old dark castle sort of look with these parts. I ended up just going in and replacing all the quartz at the bottom with the deep slate. It looked more clean, it looked less all over the place, and I went through and I did this little pathway outside of one of the castle entrances we already built. I added some quartz on the top of the roof just to even it out with the top of the walls. I was putting most of the quartz at the top of the build instead of having it below, and that actually came out looking really good because of something I added here. In a little bit you'll see, it'll be awesome. I added more diagonals. I added some blue blocks above the red ones you can see there on the left side. I wanted to create something a little different because I was getting bored of the regular red and black color palette we were using. So I added this little sky castle up above, and this thing came out looking incredible. I didn't want to use any of the fences or the wall blocks we had been detailing with because I wanted, you know, a little bit different feel in this build. I didn't want everything just to look the same, so I just detailed the hell out of this, man, with everything I could without being able to use fences or walls, which is kind of difficult for me, but I can do it. And it actually ended up being like the best part, in my opinion, of this build so far. I had a bunch of different ideas of what to do here, and I think I chose the right one. I added some lighting inside as well eventually. I tried to make this look different from what we had already made down below, almost like a heaven and hell situation, if that makes sense, where the bottom of this build is darker blocks and the top of the build is more lighter blocks, like the blue I had already added, and then this white part. I wanted to really make this look like a nice, like, heavenly structure, so I added these little quartz outlines. I went back and I finished up copy and pasting these new diagonals that were sort of coming out of the bridge that we had made. I really liked how the blue looked in contrast with the red, so I actually kept that going, and I added some more detail on this outline over here just to really make the sky castle pop out of what we were doing with the rest of the build. I ended up trying some different things in this part, but nothing worked out. I ended up just coming down here where there was way too much green in my opinion, and adding some more detail down at these little castle entrances. I loved what I did with the terracotta. I was thinking about maybe going with like a checkerboard pattern with concrete blocks, but I think I made the right decision here. I wanted to integrate these castle entrances more in with the walls that we'd created around, so I just merged them together pretty much. I kept wanting to add detail to this middle castle, and I was kind of building all over the place at this point, but I settled on working on these side areas that would end up being like walls to a giant castle that would go around this entire courtyard. Added a bunch of lava down here. I think that design came out looking super nice. Sometimes it's hard to add lava in highly detailed builds because it's just a flat surface and there's not much you can do to it besides like putting a fence in front of it. I got some nice angles on all the building I was doing here, I think, and I ended up just going in the middle here and detailing these red flat areas a little bit more with the deep slate. Wanted to add some fences in there, so I did that, and then I just copy and pasted all of the roofs of what we just made, just so I didn't have to recreate those, because that would be a whole lot of work. I did have to place by hand this area because I kept trying to copy and paste what we'd already built and was deleting the other parts I had already built, so kind of just let it happen and I'll fix it later. Went through and I finished up the roof a little bit. I ended up creating these quartz pillars right there. Those are going to end up leading right into the roof that we're making now, and I'm going to make like a cool design around everything. It'll look super nice. I added a bunch of depth in the roof too, just because I didn't want it to just be another flat surface. I don't like flat surfaces in this game. Added a sort of like mystical thing over there. But anyways, this is a quick overview of what we ended up building. This session was a really good one, and we got a ton of progress done. We made this thing look absolutely insane. My favorite part was obviously the sky castle that I built in the middle, just because it doesn't use the fences and the walls and adds a little bit of variety in the build. And these side parts with the lava ended up coming out looking really nice too. The middle looks amazing. Overall, this was, again, just super productive. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching. we made a ton of progress. This was super fun for me, and I can't wait to do next part. So thank you guys, I appreciate it.